Big time weekend in Columbia, South Carolina, as official visit weekend continues. We are previewing what should be a very fun weekend for the Gamecocks as they get loaded for the class of 26 and 27. A lot of big commitments are coming up, and many could make or break the program in the next few years if they are to commit to South Carolina. Guys, we are very excited for what should be a very fun weekend for all things South Carolina football. This is the place to be. Welcome to the third edition of South Carolina Live. I'm your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you guys for hopping on inside and talking some Gamecock football with us. Really, really appreciate you guys joining on into the show. Everybody do us a favor. Before we continue any further, hit the like and share button. Turn on that bell notification so that you are notified every time that you get a new notifications for every time we either go live, we post a new video, or a new social media post as well. Our boy Jackson Johnson in the chat with us as always, giving us a great update. 67 days until kickoff for South Carolina. Aflac kickoff game is coming up very soon, and we're just about set. Baseball's over with. No more college baseball to worry about. Now it's time to go to football season. We are getting very, very excited for what should be a lot of fun. A lot of fun coming up for South Carolina football and around the SEC as well. It should be a lot of fun. So, like I said, guys, hit the like and share. Hit that bell notification. Share it to those friend groups. If you're watching us on X, hit me up on the X at Lucas_Hill23. Also follow the Voice of College Football Network on X at THEVOCFB. Guys, we got a lot to break down. We have quite a bit that we have to talk about. And to be honest with you, we may end up having our longest show that we've ever had here on South Carolina Live. Because we have seen so many things that has gone down in the recruiting rankings with all things with South Carolina that it's blowing my mind at this point at the trajectory of the trail in recruiting for South Carolina. And here's our boy Jackson Johnson giving us a $2 super chat. Here's the first super chat to come onto this channel. Jackson, you are a dog, my man. We appreciate you. We have much love for you, brother. Y'all go holler at Jackson over at Alabama at the Voice of College Football as well, man. They got some good stuff going on over there as well. Also, holler at all of our other Voice of College Football channels as well. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into what should be a very fun show, by the way. And let's start off with many commitments that are going to take place by the end of this month. And our segment for this one, we're going to call it Many Men, like old 50 Cent used to call it, and Pop Smoke now. Many men, many, 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 many men are going to be committing at the end of this month and in July. So we got a lot to break down with this one. First of all, let's start off with what I think is the most underrated thing that South Carolina fans need to pay attention to. Number one, first of all, we have a very, very interesting top five from the number 2 quarterback in the class of 2027 and Jace Johnson. He has broken down his final top 5 to Tennessee, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Mississippi State, which I'm shocked, and Florida State. Am I surprised at all with this top 5? The 3 schools I'm shocked with is, first of all, USC. Number 1, South Mississippi State is number 1. Number 2, in my opinion, would be South Carolina. Number 3, probably Texas A&M. Either that or Tennessee. But let's go ahead and let's talk about Jace Johnson for a little bit because of just how important of a commit would he be. So he's scheduled to commit August 3rd of this year. And I think that this is a very, very interesting time for the quarterback room in South Carolina because you got to think about your future. You really have to, because you look at where South Carolina is at for the class of 2026 and beyond. We've talked about Landon Duckworth a lot on this show. We've talked about his potential future of what he could bring to South Carolina. But what if Duckworth ends up flipping his commitment? And now you go into the class of 2026, and as of now, with your recruiting class right now, your best thing that you have going for you right now in South Carolina is your defensive line. And I think the number one biggest thing that you have to address as well is your future at quarterback. Because Air Nolan is going to be your full-time starter in 2026. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the case. I think he's going into his redshirt sophomore year in 2026. 27. What if he has a breakout year the next year? He could enter the draft. Where is South Carolina looking at for its class of 26 in the quarterback room? They don't have any. You look at what they had in 25 in that quarterback room. They have what? One or two? At best, maybe one. Yeah, you only have two total. Air Nolan, and then you went out into the recruiting and got a commitment from Cutter Woods, who was a top 50 quarterback. I'm not saying Cutter Woods is going to be a bad quarterback. I also know that there's much more talent that you could get from a guy like maybe you go out into the portal and you go get another backup with plenty of experience and a much better offense that is similar to what Mike Shula's offense could be. Now, at the end of the day, you can't control whether or not a kid flips commitments or not, because we've talked about this plenty. In fact, our last recruiting update that we had with Landon Duckworth, we talked about this. Money is what matters at the end of the day. And it sucks for me to say that because it's the truth. It is the ultimate truth when we talk about the high school and transfer portal recruiting, is that the amount of zeros at the end of a paycheck is what is going to matter for a kid at the end of the day than it is for them to get actual playing time. Lenora Sellers is the anomaly in that one because the kid got offered $8 million to go play somewhere else. He could have taken that money, but he just chose to stay in Columbia because Columbia is his home. It was his first commitment. It was the number one place where he wanted to go to, and I thought he made an excellent choice to stay here. I thought it was a very, very bold statement for him to make. And I really, really appreciate him doing that. Really do. But I also look at the quarterback room for what's to come in the next couple years. Who do you have? It's not really a whole lot that you can rely on in the next couple of years, guys. As much as I want to say I have a lot of faith in 26 and beyond, I don't know, man. I don't want South Carolina to go through a stretch where they had between Connor Shaw and Spencer Rattler. Because during that era, which I think was near the end of the Muschamp and end of the Spurrier to all the way through the Muschamp campaign, you didn't have an answer at quarterback until Spencer Rattler came in. Connor Shaw was the last great quarterback that you had until Rattler came in 3 years ago, actually. My only fear is that this is going to end up well because of your inability to recruit. You have to attack the portal with a vengeance. You have to go get skill guys. I'm not saying you did a bad job this last year. I thought last year's portal class was the best you've ever had. Last year's recruiting class. is going to be very, very good. I thought you had a lot of guys that you could plug in and eventually develop their way into the starting role. 26 is going to be a great class. But in my opinion, you have to stock up at that court in that quarterback room. You don't have a choice, guys. I don't care how many zeros it takes. I don't know what Aaron Nolan is going to look like in 2026. I don't know how he develops. I think he'll be fine with Mike Shula as your offensive coordinator. But let's say Mike Shula leaves after this year. What if he goes to get another offensive coordinator job or another position coach job in the NFL, which I guarantee you he wants to do that. I mean, Shula's been an NFL guy all of his career except for, 3 years when he was head coach at Alabama? This is going to be a very, very tumultuous time for South Carolina fans, especially if you're big in the South Carolina recruiting. And JB talked about it great last week. South Carolina is one of the most underrated states when it comes to top-tier talent. They've talked about guys like Lenoris who came there. Clowney came, or I think Jadeveon Clowney came from there. Deebo Samuel. They're Ace Sanders, Marcus Lattimore. Guys that have come from the state of South Carolina and that have stayed in the state of South Carolina has gone on to have great careers. So why should things change for South Carolina? And why do you ask me why I'm so hard on a program like this at the quarterback position? Because it's the general. That's the position where everybody's going to look at. You had one commit this past year. You have 0 in the class of 26. So this either tells me you're wanting to go to the portal and you're wanting to avoid high school, which you've started to dip your toes back in there, especially this year. But I don't know, man. If you can get Landon Duckworth into your program, that would be an incredible thing for you. I think that'd be the biggest one that you got since you kept Lenoris in South Carolina. But if it comes down to it, look, if Jace Johnson is to be a South Carolina Gamecock, which from what I am hearing, he's trending more towards either A&M or Tennessee. But let's say Jace Johnson does stay in South Carolina. Guys, he's going to be 220 to 230 pounds by the time he gets to his senior year in high school. He'll be entering his junior year in 2025. I think he has an opportunity to build a lot of muscle, build a lot of speed that's going to come up in the next couple of years. The kid is going to be an electric quarterback. Make no mistake about that. I have a lot of faith in what his abilities can translate to on the field on a college level basis. I really have a lot of faith in what South Carolina can do to develop him into a top-tier quarterback. I have a lot of respect for what Mike Shula has done in the past with guys like Cam Newton. Remember, long time. He was quarterback coach and offensive coordinator almost his entire tenure in Carolina. So Mike Shula knows what an elite level quarterback is going to look like. And it looks like in the form of Cam Newton. Now, where does Jace Johnson go from here? And how does he develop further for the next year and for the next 2 years at the high school level? Well, in my opinion, it starts with being able to be fundamentally sound when you're in the pocket. One thing that I have noticed when I've watched his tape is that he is a great athlete. I am not taking that away from him. But I want to see him be comfortable in the pocket, not leave whenever a little bit of danger comes to him, whenever protection breaks down. I want him to move his feet more. I want him to make touch throws that are difficult to make. I want him to plant 50-50 balls and I wanted to get him to where only his guy can get him or nobody else gets him. That's what's going to separate him from being just another quarterback to being a truly, truly complete package. Or I should say this, from being a great athlete as a quarterback to being the complete package on what a quarterback or what a modern day quarterback is supposed to be. That's just my opinion on that one. You can disagree, but this is where the state of South Carolina is at right now when it comes to the quarterback position with recruiting. And I think it's very important that you attack it in this way. You're going to do that. Make no mistake about it. And it's going to work out well for you. You're going to dominate in recruiting. Only if you keep the pieces that are around you. Let's continue on. Let's move on to our next recruit. That's going to be that just announced his final couple selections. That's Samari Matthews. Number 6 cornerback in the nation, down to Texas, Miami, and Florida State. And I think that this is a pretty interesting one to me because Matthews is a Carolina native. He's not from South Carolina, but he is from North Carolina. He is a very, very good ball player. Make no mistake about it. I think this kid can be one of the best safeties to come out of high school in a while. So let me throw up his graphic on here. Here we go. So in my opinion, I don't know what is with this baby blue that Florida State's trying to rock. Like, no disrespect to our boys in Florida State. Bro, I don't think I've ever seen y'all wear these baby blue uniforms. And if that's the case, why are y'all wearing them? What is supposed to represent the ocean? Stick to y'all's colors. But regardless of that, South Carolina, in this instance, they're not a real favorite to get him. But I do think with what Samari Matthews brings, he is a ball hawk. He has checked several boxes. He's going to commit on June 11th. We may go live that day for a commitment show. I'll be honest, we may. But from the evaluation, he's one of the top tier cornerbacks as a complete player that's checked boxes in terms of physical ability and testing metrics. Guys, as a sophomore, he ran a 22.95 in the 200 meter as a sophomore. He has adequate height, weight, and speed with the ability to shell and mirror in both man-to-man and zone situations. He has a very quick reaction. He breaks off the ball really good. He's able to get out of his break and help and run support. I think he can be a guy that is going to be put on an island, and he's not going to get a lot of action because they're not going to throw his way. They won't dare to throw his way because of how elite his ball coverage is. He can get out into space, and he can keep that one arm. Guys, he's got blanket coverage all the way. His technique is dang near flawless. I do think that he does have to work on that first step because I do think that because of off ball, he doesn't really get an opportunity to show his off ball coverage because of the lack of opportunities he gets to have a ball thrown his way. But I do think that in camp season, he's going to get a lot more, which when we get to further down the road in our show, we're going to talk about camp season and how people will post the most ridiculous things, by the way, that is just not going to translate into an actual game. Anyways, he's projected as a day 2 pick. So he's The likely expectation is that he will commit to either Clemson or Texas. Most people are talking about him throwing up the horns and going to Texas. I wouldn't be surprised if he does so either. Just knowing what type of athlete that he is and knowing the type of guy that he possesses, he just screams burnt orange, to be honest with you. And that's not saying that he isn't going to be a South Carolina kid, but just with the way that Texas has been after him, I don't know how many times he's been to Texas. I think he's maybe been like 4 or 5 times because of just how good he was supposed to be. I think he was supposed to end up committing earlier this month, but he went on a visit to Texas. He liked the program there, and he decided to reschedule his commitment. You know, one of the top cornerbacks in the land is going to end up making a big impact if he is to stay at Texas. I think he can develop well there, but I think he can also provide some depth at South Carolina. I think he has more of an opportunity to play if he is to commit to South Carolina. But again, I can't make that decision. The paycheck and the opportunities that he will have at the end of the day to play is going to end up ultimately affecting that decision. Let's talk about P.J. Dean, the number 7 defensive lineman in the nation. He's narrowed it down to South Carolina, Georgia, and Ohio State. So this is the cat that this past year played offensive line. He played both sides of the ball. And when I tell you this kid was a monster, oh my gosh. When you turn on the tape of this kid, it's like watching magic happen. I was absolutely in awe of what he has done. He's been able to do off the football. His get off is incredible. The way that he is able to attack the middle of the field is incredible. That's his graphic, by the way. He's just got so much talent and so much speed off the ball that it's hard for a guard to get a beat off of him. It's hard to do so. But PJ Dean is going to be an elite level talent. 6'5", 305 pounds. I do think that he is going to play more on the offensive line this next year. But he did lose a little bit of weight from his freshman to senior year. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, because it just shows you how much he can do even with him being only a few pounds lighter. He doesn't look like he's 305. I think he's more in that 265 range, maybe 270 from his freshman year. They have him at 6'5", 305 initially for his freshman year. Now he dropped about 50 pounds from it. But guys, this cat can play. Let's just show you a few clips. They'll have it circled right here. He's right there at the top. Stays on his man. Ability to finish is incredible. Is this on goal line or is this? Okay, he's off the edge right here. Jumps on the inside and does a great job of meeting that back in the hole. Here he is on the goal line. And he said earlier, this is an exact quote from him to Gamecocks Central, I think. And he said this. It really is just that they see me as an all-around athlete, a two-way killer. Me in South Carolina, I've got that home feeling with them. So he's neck and neck with Georgia and South Carolina. Coach Beamer and Coach Smart, I'm glad they're neck and neck with it right now. This is a very good sign for South Carolina. You may be able to keep PJ Dean in the Carolinas. Now, I don't want to see him get his head down on these run plays, because if this is an SEC D lineman, he's going to see that, and he's going to take this backhand, he's going to club, and he's going to swim across, and he may fall on his face. Well, he does a good job of maintaining his leverage. Look at the hips. That's what you have to do as an offensive lineman, is you have to be able to utilize your hips whenever you're in pass pro or in run block situations. He does a great job of doing that. And, dude, he gets out into the middle of the field really well. He does not slow down one bit. Even though he lost about 50 pounds from his freshman year, this kid is still an elite ball player that can make defensive linemen look really bad. Bam, gets off the ball. This is the type of plays that I'm excited to see. I'm not going to say that he is a Jordan Davis type player, but the kid is very athletic. He does a good job of not getting washed, and he puts pressure. Does a great job of getting in the backfield to prevent any further damage from that screen. I mean, he just looks so bad. And that's incredible. Off the ball. Good extension. We're going to use our hands. I would like for him to maintain quarterback depth. Come on. Right there, right here. We're turning our feet towards this quarterback. Now, he didn't do that bad. He did get the sack, but still. Dang near overran the quarterback. We can't do that. Head up on the center. I mean, this is just bully ball. You're not going to be able to line up on a center and think that you can get a push off and think that you're going to be able to get off the ball in an effective manner. Bam. Dude is a monster on the interior, on defense specifically. Pass pro is just incredible. He's just going to make plays all over the field. He does a great job of washing. They're going to try to get him with the double team again. No, I'm sorry, the triple team, but fights off of that. He does a great job of keeping his shoulder square, extending, getting skinny, getting in between. That's what you want to see. That's the type of athlete that you want to see from a guy like PJ Dean that can straight up do it all. Bull rush. Another sack. I wonder if they're going to put him. I wonder if they're going to let him play a little bit of D end as well. I would like to see him play more than just interior wise. I want to see him out on the edge. Well, this is kind of him in a DM position. Squeezes down. Never mind. I thought that was him. We're looking at offensive lineman. He's just such a big frame that it's so hard for guys to get off the ball against an athlete like that. You just can't do it. All right, here we go. More defensive film. There we go. Speaking of which, edge rush. Finally. I mean, this is okay. First of all, we're high. We are high. Oh my gosh. This frustrates me. I want him to be lower than this offensive lineman, or at least head level. But he ends up making a play. So, first of all, this is a hold. He does a great job of keeping on utilizing that swim. Does not quit. And he's able to get into the backfield. This will be the last clip, and then we'll cut off the tape. Good leverage. Pancake. Okay. But I think that kid has a lot of talent at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. This kid is going to be a very, very good athlete. Two-way player, can do it all. And I think when you pair him with T-Rob, with Coach T-Rob, guys, there's no telling what his future and what his ceiling is going to look like in a Gamecocks jersey. All right, we're going to take a break real fast. We'll get our good friend Mark Rogers up and have him talk about our good friends over at Amazon. Go ahead and use that link in the description below. Get you automatically to your respected account and gets you started with all that.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Let's talk some tape. Got another edition of Tape Talk here. So we did 2 videos that should be coming out very soon about Tape Talk. I don't know if it's released just yet or not, but we are getting very, very close to getting out another one of our videos. We've had, I think, 3 released in the last 3 days. Diego Pabia's video, the Landon Duckworth visit reaction, and then to see if Lenore Sellers was tampered with. But no, you guys have been killing it on these videos recently, and we appreciate you guys' support. Guys, we've had over 3,000 views since we loaded back up South Carolina at the Voice of College Football combined. Since our first video dropped about 12 days ago, ever since we did our first live show 2 weeks ago. So, guys, continue to boost the algorithm. Let's have a little edition of Tape Talk. So today's Tape Talk is going to be our good friend Troy Pikes, who is the latest commit to South Carolina, who's going to help boost the South Carolina defensive line. This kid is going to be a monster. Now, when you look at this kid's tape from high school, there's not really a whole lot much you're going to see that is D1 worthy. But I'll show you 247 Sports's evaluation of him, and then we'll get into the tape. So this is him at Georgia Southern whenever he was there. 6'3", 290 pounds. So he put South Carolina over Ohio State and over Georgia and Georgia Tech. And I figured it was very interesting that within 12 days, he was already a South Carolina Gamecock. A top 200 defensive lineman in the nation. Nothing really too serious. At Mays High School, was only a 2-star guy, a top 200 player in the state of Georgia. 247 had him, the composite had him at a 3-star, but overall a 2-star player. Had only a few small school offers, but ultimately decided to end up at Georgia State. But, guys, stats can be deceiving at the end of the day. He only had 13 tackles and a half a tackle for loss this past year at Georgia Southern. But, guys, let me remind you that a guy like Shamar Stewart was in this similar predicament. Shamar Stewart didn't have a lot of stat production at Texas A&M. But when you look at the kid's frame and when you really turn on the tape, this kid is a disruptor in the middle. Shamar Stewart was the same, and I think Troy Pikes is going to bring the same thing. Let's watch his film. He's going to play in the middle. Good extension on the freaking pull. That's probably one that you're going to see. Explosive, explosive, explosive. Boom. Extension right there. We're going to fight off the pull that we try to get reached on. Be right there in the middle of the field. And we're going to get a formed tackle. That was very, very impressive. Nobody blocking. Now, I will say on this one, this is me nitpicking a little bit. What if this Q pulls? Who do we have blocking? Let's look at the edge. Because our edge is going backer. We have just this cornerback that's isolated. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a free at the top. So you've got the free and you've got the corner. So I would like for this defensive end to squeeze down and watch Q. I would like for our defensive tackles to do that as well. But look at the chase down that he has on a running back of all things. Very impressive. Good ball get off on the center. We're going to explode. Dude, I mean, there's just so much power when I look at Troy Pikes. Troy Pikes is a man in the middle of a defense. And it is impressive to me the type of athlete that he can be. Guys, Troy Pikes is a really dominant defensive lineman. On the goal line. See, it's about low man winning. Don't go too low. Or else that's going to happen. Right through the middle because of his get off. Guys, Troy Pikes, in my opinion, I don't know how much reps he'll get with this defensive line group because of how deep you are up front. But I do think he's going to take advantage of his reps. We could be having a hard call. Gets low. He's got good technique. I like him when he uses his hands. That's what you want to do as a defensive lineman. You want to keep your hands active. You never give up on a play and you keep using your hands. That's one of the most important things that you could do as a defensive lineman. All right, we're in Cougar. Now, Cougar is 3-man. Bear is 5-man, I believe. Arm over. Good ball recognition. Very good ball recognition. I think they're playing Valdosta. Yeah. They're playing Valdosta. Dude, if y'all don't know about Valdosta High School, guys, Valdosta is a freaking powerhouse of a program. Valdosta is one of the best programs in all of high school football in the state of Georgia. And he does really well on him. By the way, that's a North Carolina State commit, number 50. I don't remember his name, but they had a Netflix series called Titletown High. And I remember Pike, or P, or his name started with a P, bottom line. But this is explosive. Coming from Troy Pikes. Nice chase down. Dude. This is a freaking defensive lineman's dream. When you get knocked, when you are lined up head-on a center, and you come off the football with so much force, you knock a center's ass into the freaking quarterback's face. That's incredible technique. That is incredible what he brings to the table. Good push-pull. That was an aggressive push-pull. I like that. Absolutely like that from Troy Pike. Valdosta film's going to get you look, bro. Working on the defensive lineman. Or on the offensive lineman, I should say. And around. Good. Again, one little nitpick I will say is that I need to contain, bro. Be as deep as back and don't get beat up the field. All right. Number one thing I've seen throughout this tape talk is ball get off. The one thing that I've seen that has been lacking from some of these guys that I've evaluated is their get off. Troy Pike has the most aggressive get off that I have seen all tape talk. And because of that, you talk about a kid with a lot of upside. Guys, I'm shocked that he was only a 2-star freaking defensive lineman. A 2-star defensive lineman. Somebody make that make sense to me. Because it just straight up doesn't. Troy Pike has the most upside that I've seen from this interior group. I think he'll probably get the starting nod between him and Gabe Brownlow Dindy. Good. There we go. There's the squeeze. Boom. We get a base block. We're going to push our guy 1 yard back across the line of scrimmage. Recognize ball. And we're going to get into the backfield. That's a great play to end off this tape talk. Guys, Troy Pikes has a lot of upside, and I think he's going to be one of your more talented defensive linemen that you have in that room. In my opinion, this is going to be one of the more incredible guys that I've seen really hit it off with just how he has played so far up to his full potential and what he is going to bring at the end of the day with this group. In total, I'm very, very honestly excited for what he's going to bring at the end of the day for South Carolina. So with that being said, the defensive line has a lot of upside to them. The defensive line is going to be really freaking amazing. Make no mistake, I know that you lost a lot from the defensive lineman. Obviously, you lose the Bednarik Award winner in Kyle Kennard. You lose your interior guys in Tonka Hemingway and TJ Sanders. But I think the one position that I think is going to create the most question marks this season is the linebacking core. Let's talk about the linebackers. So, overall, Phil Still put out his position rankings earlier this week. He has South Carolina 14th in the SEC in the linebacking core. So let's talk about the linebackers. And our top 5 guys that I think is going to make the most impact for South Carolina. Let's start off with Fred Johnson. So Fred Johnson's the number 8 linebacker in the class of 2024. He got a good bit of experience last year. He's a rangy guy, does very well in zone coverage. He can also come off the edge, had two or three pressures last year. I think he can be really, really good at the end of the day. He'll be a rotational piece. I don't know really with what type of guy they'll put him in. I don't know if he'll be a full-time linebacker, but I do think he's going to have a good bit of what he had last year. He's going to be another rotational guy. He's going to get plenty of experience. He's going to get a lot of reps. And eventually, by this time next year, I think he can be your Demetrius Knight, like what Demetrius Knight was last year. I think he could be like Brian Thomas, who's going to be a package guy, have him on off the edge if Dylan Stewart's not in on first or second downs. So that's my opinion with what Johnson has. In my opinion, he's probably got the most upside of all the linebackers that you have. But again, he's still young. Jaron Willis is going to be a rotational guy as well. He's going to provide some quality reps. He was a former Ole Miss transfer. He's been a special teamer the last 2 or 3 years at South Carolina. This is the year where he's going to get the majority of his reps. I still don't know if he is going to be a fully developed piece. I think that he's going to get his job overtaken by a lot of these transfers that are coming in. So let's talk about them for a little bit. Let's talk about Jonathan, or before we start with the 2 transfers, let's talk about the rest of your recruiting class, and let's talk about Donovan Darden. He's the prize prospect of this 25 recruiting class who's going to get a lot of reps this year. 6'3", 6'4", 231 pounds. If he puts on another 10, 15 pounds, which I think he will, I think you can move him to edge. I think he could be what Brian Thomas is this year. You could put him on the edge and play defensive end, do very well in pass pro. Darden's going to be mostly on the outside as a backer, does very well with coverage, covering linebackers, is a north and south guy, doesn't go outside of his boundary, does very well whenever it comes to run support. He's a very instinctive linebacker, and I think he's going to help you quite a bit this year. Let's talk about the 2 transfers. Let's talk first of all about Justin Orkanow. He's the Alabama transfer. The thing about him is that he is just learning the game of football. He could be more. He was a special teamer this past year. He has a lot of upside. He's going to end up playing a lot in this defense. He believe it or not, this dude's got an interesting story. So he's from Munich, Germany. He was the top-ranked player in Germany. Grew up doing gymnastics and played soccer. Was selected to the All-American Bowl. Was born in Germany and began his playing career playing with club teams. So you want to talk about an interesting prospect? Look at Justin Orkanau. Went to Therese von Bayern School in Munich. Wow. But last year was more of a special teamer for Alabama. Didn't get a lot of playing time, but again, this kid is still learning the game of football. I think he's still going to be a special teamer, but don't be surprised if South Carolina plugs him in crunch time, in garbage time situations, and we'll get a better look at what we can expect for the next year if he is to stay in Columbia. I expect that he will. I think he'd fit better in Clayton White's defense, and I think he'd have more of an opportunity to play at the end of the day. But I could be wrong, guys. This is a very, very intriguing prospect that I've seen in a while. Guy from Germany. And you know how those guys are freaking swole. All right, the last one, and in my opinion, this is going to be the leader of your defense, and it's Sean Murphy. I said this in my notes. He could be your Demetrius-type leader this year. I said that it could be Fred Johnson either next year or in 27 if he is to stay that long. But Sean Murphy has a lot of upside to him. He can put on another 10 pounds, and he can be a very, very good linebacker. He was a special teamer for back-to-back seasons. Missed the majority of the season due to injury during the offseason, but when he was in the game, guys, he was a very, very good player. He was a very good prospect and a guy that I think could really contribute once he steps on the field as a Gamecock. Guys, Sean Murphy is a very good player. 13 tackles, 1.5 tackles, and a recovered fumble. Had a career-high tackles in the final 3 games. 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. His best game was probably Charleston Southern. He had a tackle and a half he had 1.5 tackles for loss to go along with 4 total tackles, even though he didn't play a whole lot. But you'll take it for a guy that missed majority of the season. Guys, Murphy is, in my opinion, probably going to be your best linebacker at the end of the day. He's going to be your starter going into 25. I think he's going to have that opportunity to continue to elevate where he is at the moment as a prospect. And I think he's going to do a lot of great things at the end of the day for this South Carolina linebacking core. I have a lot of upside for what he's going to do in the next couple of years. So that's where I have with where the linebacking core is going to be. And I'm not saying this to be a Debbie Downer on the linebackers, but you're just so young. You don't have a lot of pieces that you can look at and say, okay, we can trust this linebacking core. It's not like what it's going to be last year. It really isn't. Whether you want to admit it or not, if you're a South Carolina fan. But this is where you're at right now. So I think it's time we transition this one to your realistic expectations in 2025. And many of you are going to not like me for saying this, but one of our most viewed videos was that South Carolina fans should lower their expectations. Because when you're expected to do very well one year, you end up 4-8 or 5-7. It's happened almost every year during the Beamer era. 2022, you were expected to do not that great. You end up going 9-4. And you have a great run. You beat Tennessee. And you dominate, and you beat Clemson that same year as well. 2023, you're expected, okay, they may contend in the SEC East. Nope. You fell flat on your face and went 5-7. This last year, you were expected to be one of the worst in the SEC, especially after that Old Dominion game. Everybody was like, well, Shane Beamer's gone after this year. Nope. You rattled off a great month in November, and you closed out the season really well. It didn't end up the way you did, the way you wanted it to in the bowl game, but you are happy with where the trajectory of where South Carolina is in the future. So, realistically, how hype should South Carolina be? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't. And it pains me to say that. Because I could be completely real with you and say South Carolina will go so-and-so and miss the postseason. I could also say, here's my ceiling and here's my cellar. My ceiling for South Carolina is 10-2, and you make a college football playoff. I think that's reasonable. Your only 2 losses, again, just my opinion, just looking at the schedule and looking at where they are as a program, your 2 losses will be to at LSU and then Clemson at Willie B. Do I think that it's going to happen at Willie B? Probably so, knowing where Clemson is at this point. But, guys, can we be real? Can we? The last time that South Carolina beat Clemson at Willie B was 2013. Now, it's been much closer in years past compared to a stretch where Clemson was regularly beating South Carolina by double digits. Unlike that stretch from 2009 to 2013 when South Carolina was just tearing Clemson up. But this isn't the same South Carolina that we were used to seeing. This isn't the South Carolina where in 2009 or during the high stakes of the Spurrier era, where you were 11-2 and went number 3 in the polls. This isn't that South Carolina anymore, guys. This is a brand new era. Do I think that they can win 10 games in a season? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. But I also look at their cellar. This is where I could see them losing some games. Losing to Missouri, losing to LSU, potentially losing to Oklahoma, Alabama, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M, and then Clemson. 5-7. But where am I realistically? Well, things could change in the next month when when I release my game by game predictions. But overall, 8-4. I think that's a very reasonable record that South Carolina can achieve, and something that I do expect them to achieve. I think you'll start the season 5-0. You'll lose to LSU. You'll beat Oklahoma. You'll lose to Bama. You'll probably beat Ole Miss, but I don't know. That's a 50-50 game for me. I don't know if you're getting out of Kyle Field alive. I think Texas A&M has your number this year. You'll beat Coastal. You'll lose to Clemson. 8-4. Very, very reasonable. And I think that's achievable. That's very, very achievable at the end of the day for South Carolina. I think Lenore's has a good year. I think the offense does well. But again, guys, we're talking about a team that lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball. We need to stop looking at the offensive side of the ball and say, oh, they're a college football playoff team. Okay. What about the rest of the program? Well, I mean, they took a step back, but it'll be all right. The offensive pickup slack. How do you know? How do you know? Guys, I look at South Carolina's schedule and it's like, you have a lot of games that could be 50-50. You could win or you could lose very, very easily. And you could say I'm crazy for thinking this, but I'm thinking about this as a realist, as a very honest individual who wants to be honest with my audience. And either you don't like it when I say this, but you also have to understand that I have to be real about South Carolina this year. Because if I say that they will be a playoff team and then they flop, what am I going to end up being? I'm going to look like a freaking fool because I overhyped the team, because I didn't do my respective research, which, by the way, I've done on South Carolina. And I'm a very real individual when it comes to overall expectations around the program. An 8-4, 9-3 season would be amazing for South Carolina. In the history of South Carolina football, I think, because JB talked about this last week, I think, you went to 10 bowl games before Steve Spurrier got there. Ten bowl games. Then you end up going to what, 8? Or no, you end up going to 9 in the Spurrier era. Shane Beamer's got 3 out of his 4 seasons with a bowl appearance. And there was a stretch in South Carolina football between 2015 and 2020. This was what we call mediocre years of South Carolina. Between those years, South Carolina had 1, 2, 3, 4 losing records. You had only 3 winning seasons during that period. You've already got 3 in 4 years, which I thought was very good for where this program was not too long ago. Because things were trending downwards for South Carolina. It really was. And then you come out in first year, boom, you end up with a winning record. It's the first year that it's only what? The third coat, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Since 1892, you're the 20th. Shane Beamer is the 20th coach in South Carolina history to have a winning record in his first full season. Lou Holtz didn't have one. I don't think Spurrier had one. Will Muschamp didn't have one. So that's impressive for where you are from where this program was 5 years ago and to where you are now. South Carolina fans, set realistic expectations for yourself at the end of the day. 8-4 is a great season for you. If you appear again in the Cheez-It Bowl, you should be grateful. Because in years past, it has trended downwards for a program like South Carolina. Let's go around the SEC. And guys, I am excited to present, extremely excited to present my SEC power rankings. Boom. I know you can't see it all, but we'll show you on X and give you the entire scoop. Now, I probably screwed up when I released my SEC predictions. Yeah, I probably screwed up. Yeah, I probably did screw up on this one. Don't you just love technology? But hey, that's great stuff all the time. Okay, that's fine. So I just dropped my SEC predictions, and I just realized that I freaking forgot a team. And I'm such a moron that I have literally screwed myself with this post. But this is what I have as of now. These are my SEC power rankings right now. Texas and Alabama are 1 and 2. I think that there's no surprise as to that one. I also have Georgia coming in at 3, LSU at 4, Tennessee's coming in at 5. I have South Carolina 6, Florida at 7, Texas A&M at 8, Ole Miss at 9, Missouri at 10, Arkansas at 11, Vandy at 12, Auburn at 13, Mississippi State at 14, and Kentucky at number 15. And I think that's fairly reasonable. You could say that it's not, but to be honest with you, with where the SEC is at right now. By the way, I forgot Oklahoma. I have Oklahoma probably between Arkansas and Vanderbilt. I have Oklahoma at maybe 11. I'm going to go in and edit this, delete this post, and I'm going to put out my actual power rankings right there. But I have Oklahoma at 11, Arkansas at 12, Vandy at 13, Auburn 14, Mississippi State at 15, and then 10, Kentucky at 16. And many of you are wondering, why the hell do you not flip Mississippi State and Kentucky? Well, number one, I think Kentucky is in a much worse hole than where Mississippi State is. In my opinion, I think Mississippi State has probably the most upside going into this year. Why do I say that? I like what you did in the portal. I like what you upgraded on the defensive side of the ball. I still think Coleman Huntsler is not your guy, but I think at the end of the day, you should be very impressed with what you're going to get at the end of the day with Mississippi State. This is a Mississippi State program that has one of the toughest schedules in college football. Guys, it is not easy for Mississippi State in 2025. Guys, you have to play 4 teams that were in the college football playoff last year: Arizona State, Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia. You'll beat Southern Miss. You'll lose to Arizona State. You'll beat Alcorn. You'll beat Northern Illinois. You'll lose to Tennessee at Texas A&M in Florida. You'll be 3-4, 3-5 in Texas. I'll tell you what. If Mississippi State can beat Arkansas, Ole Miss at home, and if you can somehow pull off an upset against either Florida or Tennessee, guys, you have a legit chance at making a bowl game this year. That's the only way that you can do it, is if you do those specific things. Mississippi State is going to be a very, very intriguing program in 2025. I don't know really if they're going to meet my expectations for them. But again, we've seen crazier things in college football. So that's my opinion. That's where I have them at. But we'll see, man. Let's talk about Jordan Carter, who is, I think he's an Ohio State commit, but no, he's a 5-star edge rusher. Some of them have him as a 3 or 4-star. He had a rep in 7-on-7 in pass pro during the Rivals camp this past year. Because first of all, let's talk about this. And this was but like I mentioned, this is during the 5-star camp at, I think this was in Indianapolis. This is the rep. Inside move. But we're going to get pushed out. All right, man. LOL, let's show this rep too. Yeah, you're funny, buddy. In my opinion, this is not really that great of a rep. Let me explain to you why. Because, first of all, it is a good get off, and this is a very good rep. I like him using the hands, but he's pushing himself out of the play because this offensive lineman is going to come over. Now, I wish we had a better angle of this too, but you're getting pushed out of the play. And you're going to tell me this is a quality rep when going up against a 5-star Ohio State commit in Sam Greer? And I'm sure the fellas talked about it this morning on Ohio State Live. If they didn't, they need to. Between that and this rep, boom. That's a heck of a rep. That's a heck of a rep. So he's going to want to start a war. We're going to try and spin. That's not good. We're going to keep using our hands, and we're going to stop. Come on, man. You didn't do anything, even with that little stupid move that you tried. All right, going in a one-on-one scenario. Go do it, please. Make my day when you try that in a real-time game scenario. Because it's not going to work. Because that quarterback's going to roll out, and you're going to lose containment, and your coach is going to be on the sideline screaming at you. How do I know that? Because I did it. Because it's happened to me before. Camp season's so stupid, to be honest with you. Because in 7-on-7 and in pass pro, we don't get actual reps. We don't get real-time, game-time scenarios. These are just for highlight clips that we watch. This is so we can go viral or whatnot. These are some of the stupidest highlights that I've seen. And it frustrates the piss out of me that kids post this on their X or their Instagram and think, oh, well, a college coach is going to love this. Yeah, they're going to look at it and they're going to say, oh, man, that's a nice rep. Well, what would have happened if it's a real-time game scenario? I wish coaches didn't give a crap about what happened in 7-on-7, but in pass pro, that's where a majority of these kids are getting their offers from. I look at their tape on the film, on the field, and I'm like, why are you recruiting this kid? I can give you like 5 or 10 other kids that I think deserve an offer better than this one. And I'm not hating on the kid. I think he's an excellent playmaker. And I think he's got dude, Sam Greer's going to be a dog at the end of the day for Ohio State. I think that edge rusher that we just showed, I'm sure he's a hell of a player. But we can't judge what he's going to do at the next level based on camp season. That's what's so frustrating. Steve Spurrier has appeared skeptical of Arch Manning ahead of his first year as a starter. So Spurrier was on Another Duly Noted podcast. They've got a good little thing with Pat Dooley and company. And he talked about Arch Manning during his recent appearance. And he says this: most people are picking Texas to win the SEC in football. They've got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman too. My question is, if he was this good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year? He was a 7th round pick. You only have to ask Coach Sark, how come you played that one instead of this one? Hopefully he'll say because we thought he was better than this one. Isn't that why you play one guy and not the other? Unless it was discipline, and there was no discipline or anything. I completely agree with you guys. I completely agree with Coach Spurrier. And I love Coach Spurrier. Coach Spurrier had a lot of great memories here in South Carolina too, may I remind you. So, South Carolina is going – Arch Manning is, to me, the most overhyped player this year. I don't know what he's going to do in 2025. I've only seen a limited amount of film of him because he has a lot of talent. Make no mistake about that. I'm not going to be sitting here and hating on the kid, but I will be honest with you, and I will give you my honest opinion of him. I don't know if Arch Manning is going to be as hyped as he can be. I want to see him be better with his accuracy. I want to see him be better with his deep ball. Can he do that this year? I sure hope so, because he's going to be a very, very good player for Texas. And that's why they're going to rely on him in the SEC. That's why I have them winning the SEC. We'll just have to see, man. That's going to do it for us here on another great episode of South Carolina Live. I told you guys this was going to be one of our longest episodes that we ever done. An hour, 20 minutes. Told you. But, guys, again, appreciate you for hopping on inside South Carolina Live. Thank you to our boy Jackson for the super chat. Like, that is a dog right there. That is a real one at the end of the day. It helps. So make sure you do us a favor. Hit the like and share button. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube so that you are notified on all things South Carolina football. Holler at us on X at Lucas_Hill23. Follow the Voice of College Football at THEVOCFB. And until next time, everybody, stay blessed. Don't stress.